So today, I just want to share a few ideas with you around some leadership lists. Everybody has, their productivity list there, and they call them the to-do lists and so forth. But I thought from a leadership perspective, there's some other lists that are quite powerful. And, you can use this for yourself if you're not a leader as well, but it is very helpful if you are leading people to have these four lists. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share these four lists with you. I'm going to give you some ideas behind it. So I'm not going to have everything on the slides and everything, but I'll give you some ideas behind these lists and how you could use it. And I'll also reserve time for questions at the end so that we can cover any questions that you might have on these things. So what you see in front of you is the four lists that I think that are the most powerful. These are the ones I use for myself to run my own business. And the first one is an interesting list. It's the outcomes list or the to achieve list. Right? A lot of times people have a to-do list, but your goal is not in what you do. Your goal is in what you achieve with what you do. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a twist on this, and I don't really believe in single to-do lists because a to-do list has all kinds of things in there, and it doesn't keep you focused. The second list is the relationships list. In other words, if you have to do everything yourself, you're limited by 24 hours. You're not going to do everything. It's who you put around you and how well do you maintain those relationships. So they say the best people, they have a sense of self-worth that they're going to surround themselves with people better than they are. Right? So if you want to be the ego and the best person in the room, you're not going to get a lot of help from others. The third list is around next action because, everything is about progress. But you really need to think about what you're doing, going to move forward, and how you're going to take action. This next action is not a to-do list. It's something else necessarily, maybe. And then the last one is follow-up. And follow-up is so important because if you have people around you, you want them sort of honoring their commitments and you want to reinforce the right behaviors in others. Okay. So these are the four lists I want to talk to you about today. And let's go through the four, and then I'll open it up for questions as we go. But the first list is not a to-do list, it's a to achieve list. In other words, what are the outcomes that you want to drive? Because when you have a very, very clear outcome, we'll always try to find the shortest way there. We're all inherently lazy, so if we have a very clear outcome, we'll find the shortest way there. If we remind ourselves of those outcomes, we're continually going to look for faster, better ways, use our creativity to get there faster. In other words, an outcomes list drives you to take a lot more focused action than a to-do list. And you think about it, how many times have you put things on your to-do list and you come to the end of the week, you haven't done it, and nothing happened, right? And then you say, well, maybe I don't need to do this. So the thing is, just listing up things to do isn't going to help you to be more effective. It's listing up the things you want to accomplish. It's the to achieve list. Now, the to achieve is first, the big of the top of that is your vision or your goals. Your goals should always be at the top of your to-do list because you remind yourself of what's most important. If you remind yourself of what's most important, you'll take more action on it as well. Okay. So, think about this. We take action based on our dominant thoughts. If you ever heard me before, you know that the conscious mind isn't driving your actions, it's the subconscious mind. So it's what is on your head all the time. The dominant thoughts shows up and you see more actions you can take towards achieving that. So, the key is not making your actions and your to-do list a dominant thought, making what you want to achieve your dominant thought. That's the most important thing for you to do. So the achieve list is kind of like a pulling list. A to-do list is a pushing. I need to do. Achieve list is this is what I want to accomplish. Now, what's the fastest way to go make it happen? Brian Tracy, very successful businessman in the US. He had the top selling sales CD years back, all around the world and everything. You know, he often talks about, you it's not what you do, it's what you're achieving with what you do. And he talks about, eat the frog first, and do what's necessary. And that's the next action list. But you don't know what's necessary unless you really focus yourself on those. And the other thing that Brian Tracy said is that, you would be better off spending every day, the first 5 minutes, rewriting your goals and making sure that they become a dominant thought in you. So think about this: the more you want, know how to say, the more what you want to achieve is top of mind. It's a dominant thought. You're going to take more action on this. So the outcomes list is at different levels. The goals are there. The things you need to achieve are there. The big, small projects and so forth. And sometimes there's some small things on there that are going to take more than a few actions, but they're very important, but they're pulling you. In other words, they're helping you find faster ways to go make it happen. So if you're looking at that every day, you're keeping that as a focus. So this is not a very long list, okay? It shouldn't be a very long list, but it's there to maintain your focus. And outcomes are really the language of achievement, and you're basically focusing yourself on achievement all the time. Okay, so think of the list of the goals you want to achieve. Think of it, or the projects you need to deliver, and think of it as smaller outcomes that you want to drive. In other words, what you want to have happen. Sometimes it could be an outcome on alignment, getting people aligned. So what I found, it's more of a pulling list than a pushing list. And basically what it's pulling the creativity out of you in terms of how to get there faster. So the outcomes list is all about you being able to take much more, focused action. So that's the outcome list. Now, the second list are the relationships list. In other words, you can't do everything by yourself. Who's going to help you go make those things happen? If you're a leader, the key people on your relationships list are your direct reports. Okay, what are they doing? How do you need to engage them? Maybe for each direct report, what is the growth you need in them, or what do you want to delegate to them in the future? Also, what I had when I was leading, I used to have my high potentials in the organization on my relationships list, because I wanted to keep them in mind, because they're the role models lower in the organization. But the relationship list could be your peers. It could be your peers in business that you need to have some influence with. So if you think about it, if you have their name there, and you write down what is the influence you need from them in order to be more successful in you achieving what you want to achieve and your organization achieving that, then you'll probably take more action on reinforcing that. When I scan down through my relationship list, I basically ask myself one question: how am I doing? Am I keeping the relationship warm enough? Am I achieving what I want with that relationship? So it's helping me achieve my goals and the goals of my team much faster. These relationship lists could be key people in your network. Keep people in your network that you constantly have to keep linked with. It could be some mentors. It could be, if you have your own business, it could be prospects. It could be customers. But just scanning that list, and if you see someone's name you haven't contacted for a while, that relationship isn't necessarily that warm. So think of it this way: success is a team sport. If everything comes down to you, you only have 24 hours in the day. And so it's the relationships that way. A top guru in America happens to be a preacher with one of the largest congregations. He creates movies, writes books, and all this. He says, show me your phone. Show me your contacts list on your phone. The quality of your contacts drive your net worth. And so it's the quality of your relationships that help you to be more successful in your role, because you can't do it by yourself. So think about this relationships list is the top relationships that are helping you be successful both today, and it's helping you create the future you want faster. So some people might add it to it, some people might drop off, but it's the key ones that you want to make sure that they're on your side and you're aligning with them strongly. And one of the most important ones, if you work in a very large company, is the peers, the list of your relationships with your peers, because that's where your power comes from. Your power doesn't come from managing your team or managing your boss. It comes from getting alignment and support from your peers with the least amount of effort. So think about this for yourself. Just look at your list, and every week, scan your list and say, how am I doing? I've also put next to the list of relationships, what is the influence you need from them in order to achieve your goals faster, or your projects or your key outcomes faster? So it's really the two most powerful lists that are going to help you take more focused action and are going to help you to get the most help from others are the to achieve list, the outcome list we talked about, and the relationships list, which you could call the influence list as well. Okay. So it's what you want to achieve and who's going to help you. Okay. So those are the two first ones. So if you have what you want to achieve clear, you have it a dominant thought, you're seeing more creative ways to make it happen. And then you're thinking about the relationship list. Who's going to help you with that? And I'll give you a tip, and I often do this with my leadership sessions. The best, most effective people, whenever they have a clear what they want to achieve, they're not thinking how. The first thing they're thinking is who. Okay. And there's also a funny saying around that, but if you don't have a who, the who is always you. So, if you get the right who, you get the right knowledge to start off with a better solution in the right way. And if you get a who engaged early, they help you much, much faster that way. Okay. So, achievement list, relationships list. The third list is really about the next action list. In other words, what is going to keep this moving forward? And what I found, if you're a leader, that next action is always about engaging your who for the most part. About 9 times out of 10, it's engaging someone quickly, getting them to do something, or briefing them or doing something so that they can take more action on what you want to achieve as a team. Okay. And so often I found in business, what goes on your next action, that is about 90% of it, is the calls you have to make, the email you have to make, the message you have to send, or whatever, the communication that's going to engage someone else to help you. Okay. Or to you're communicating, you schedule a meeting, a quick meeting, so that you can get aligned and get them taking much more action. There's often small things you need to do, but I found when I was leading, 90% was about engaging your who. Right. And the more you do that quicker, the faster they're helping you that way. And so think of this, is that if you're going through your day and say, oh, I need to talk to such and such, I need to engage such and such and so forth, and you never write it down, you come to the end of the day and all these other pressures are hitting you and you forget it. If you forget 24 hours to engage someone else, you just lost 24 hours of what they could be taking action on that. Okay. So think about this. What is the very next action that'll move something forward? And it's always something small. And I'll give you an interesting one from my own life. Now, with the lockdown and everything, my wife cuts my hair, but I used to get my hair cut, and I always just think I need a haircut. But I don't think in the very next action, which is call the hairdresser or line up an appointment. And then you go 2, 3 days, a week, and you don't get your haircut done. And when you do call, the hairdresser's on holiday for the next couple of weeks. Now you lost the opportunity. So the thing is what moves things forward, usually it's very, very small. It's not a big action. And for leadership, it's often 9 times out of 10, excuse me, engaging someone else who's going to help you. The faster you get them engaged, the faster you get the help. Okay. So keep in mind that next action is all about progress. And the best action as a leader is you're not doing it, someone else is doing it. Okay. So often when you look at your relationships list and you say, wait, I haven't contacted this person for a while, whatever, your next action often is to send a quick email to them, right, to engage them, just send them something interesting, whatever. Maybe, send a message, how you doing, send a quick message, say, hey, let's have a catch up, whatever. It's always something short, and now it's in motion. Okay. So keep in mind that the next action is always helping you get something in motion, and the best motion is you're not doing it, getting someone else to help you and do it. Okay. Now, the last list is the follow-up list. So let's say you've engaged people to do something for you. Now you need to follow it up. Because if you engage someone to do something, say, okay, they're going to give you something back by Friday, tomorrow. And let's say that, you get so busy and everything and you forget about it. And then you follow up with them next Tuesday about what you asked for by Friday. They're thinking a couple things. They're thinking, well, what my boss asked me for, it wasn't important. And oh, by the way, maybe I have 1 or 2 extra days whenever my boss asks me something because they don't follow up with me on the day they asked for it. So what I found, the most powerful list that people forget is the follow-up list. So if you ask for something by a certain day, you better follow up with them that day, because then you reinforce that it was important and you reinforce the time when you needed it back by. But if you're like everybody these days, we're so busy. If you don't follow up these things, you know you're just going to escape your head, all these other pressures hit, and you forget about it. So what I found as a habit is, if I ask for something, I always write it down in my follow-up list to make sure that I'm going to follow it up. Okay. If I have a commitment to someone to do something, I'll follow it up by a certain date too. I'll put it down. So I hold myself committed sometimes in this list, but I'm holding other people's commitments as well. And think about it. If you remember to do what you say you're going to do, or you follow up with someone, or let's say it's a relationship, and one of your friends or your peers, son or daughter is sick or something, or their son is trying to get into a particular school. You write down, maybe follow up in a couple months how they're doing, or a month later, how's it going. So there's some things that also help you to keep a relationship strong at the same time. Okay. So keep in mind this. Follow up is holding other people's accountable. It's reinforcing commitments you want them to deliver on, and so forth. So if you don't have the discipline to follow up something that you've asked, then probably people are going to think it's not that important. Okay. So what we went through now is we went through these 4 lists. It's an outcomes list, okay, a to achieve list. What do you want to achieve? Your goals, your key outcomes that you need to create, the projects, etc. Your relationships list. Who's going to help you? And what influence do you need from them, or what help do you need from them to go make it happen? And these can be direct reports, peers, people in your network, prospect, customers, but down that way. Your third list is, once you have the what and the who, is how you're going to keep it moving forward. And oftentimes when things come up, it's engaging your who, and that's your next action, something very, very simple. And then the fourth list is making sure that people are accountable, or you're holding people accountable, or if you ask for something, you're going to follow it up that way. Okay. So let me open it up now. Just if any comments, questions on here, you can put them into, let me see, let me get the chat function, or you can just open up your mic and shout out. But let me open up for questions on those 4 lists.
I have just a general clarifying question.
Yeah, Chris.
Does this follow a sort of GTD, get things done type of methodology in terms of the daily follow-ups and weekly reviews and such?
It leverages some of that in terms of the concept of outcome and next action, follow-up. Those things come from GDT. Give you my opinion, because I read the book many years ago. Actually, I would love to have been a consultant of him, maybe. But the thing is, I found too many lists to be distracting. So I found if you bring it down to these four, I found it to be the most powerful, because what I found is the best way to be productive as a leader is not for you just to be productive, but you're engaging an effective team to be productive. So I found more and more that relationship list to be one of the most powerful lists. And I found that having too many lists was too administrative. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Hi, Mark. I've got a question, please. In the follow-up, like you've given a deadline for something to come back to you and it doesn't, how do you then manage that relationship? Because I'm sure we've all had those messages where, oh, I'm so sorry, I just haven't had time this week, but I'll get it to you by Tuesday. So how do you manage those situations? Because if you accept that, in effect, you are saying the same thing, that it doesn't matter when I give you a deadline, because if you've not had time.
I'll give you a couple things. One is you kind of know the people around you, who you can trust and who you can't trust, right? And so what I found with people that I don't think I can trust, and let's say I asked it for by Friday, I'd say, hey, could we have a short 10-minute phone call at Friday noontime and just review it when I asked for it? People are more reluctant to come on to a call and say I didn't do it. And then they would do it later. So I used to call these my accountability calls. And so, when you make it an event as to when something needs to be delivered, people do not want to come on a call or go on a call in front of someone else and show they didn't do it. Yeah. So that's what I used to try to do. The other thing I did, if I don't trust them, I would send a very short email a day before and say, how's it going? And then what I might do in the email, I might put, really looking forward to seeing this because I need to pass this on to such and such at 2:00. And so now you put a quiet pressure on it, okay? But, generally you will know who you can trust and who you can't trust. But those 5-minute, 10-minute accountability calls are amazing. They're amazing to get people to deliver. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments on the 4 lists?
Yeah. Hi, Mark.
Yeah.
What do you do with a to-do list? What do we do with them?
I get rid of it. In other words, I'd have an outcome list and a next action list. And whatever you were putting on your to-do list, put it as an outcome or a next action.
And do you review those lists daily?
Daily. I look at all of them daily, and I have a more robust look at the outcomes and the relationships at the end of each week. Because here's the thing, is that you often are more creative than you have time to take action on everything. So, to be very focused means that you have to drop some things. So as you start adding, you think I should do this, and do this, you'll find that you don't have the time to do all those outcomes. You have to drop some of them. Yeah. And so, whenever you feel stressed, you should go to your outcomes list and say, do I really need to do all that? Or do I need to do all that myself, or can I give this to other people, right? So it's often a who that will relieve stress. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Mayor. had a question. I think you're on mute. Whoops, still can't hear. The wonders of technology.
And now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Okay. It works. The next action and the follow-up. For me, these, I mean, towards simplification, as you said, these are like four lists to manage. I mean, to-do list is already, I think,
Yep.
requires some discipline. This requires a lot of discipline. Right? So next action and follow-up could be just combined. I mean, next action is what you would do, and follow-up is basically a date. So why would
it could be, but there's some psychological reasons why of those things. Follow-up, it could be something that's a month from now. So why should I look at it if it's a month from now all the time? But next action should have my immediate priority. So a next action list is, that with what's on next action, it should be done right now. Okay. It should be done right now. So what I found is that if it's not on next action and I have to do it, but I don't want to do it right now, what I do is I put it on my calendar. Because if, let's say I'm going to do it at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'll put it on my calendar at 4 o'clock and commit myself to do it. So the key of being very successful in time management is to give yourself a command and follow it.
Yeah, so I think the next action could be a list, but then follow-up could be really on your calendar itself. So then
it could be on your calendar itself, depending on how long it gets. And that's true. I like to have the follow-up all in one, because I mix commitments, but I also mix relationships. When I want to follow up again with someone else in a way of, and just putting their name to. So I would say the two most powerful lists are the outcome and relationship.
Yeah.
And then it's personal as to how you handle the other ones. For me, I like to have them there and away from my calendar, because I like to keep my calendar a little bit clean, other than just action. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and maybe a last one, that the outcomes in the relationships, I see them as either the why, the goal, or the result. So either you are an output-based person, and then you do the next section, follow up, and the relationships are a result of what you have done in between, or you start with that you would like to have good, want to maintain a certain type of relationships, and the outcome could be the result of that. So I think
I think you start with what you want to achieve, and then you say, who's going to help me achieve it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Time for one more question. Was today helpful for you guys? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
very
just
useful.
give you
Thank you.
some things here, just to finish off. A couple things that I do. Whoops, back. I work at leadership teams a lot. And I do it with a combination of things that you see here. I do the lessons, I do the reflection and peer coaching in it, do some coaching and mentoring, and I also do some daily reminders. And basically, my goal is to help people develop new mindsets and habits quicker, because it drives different actions. So here's some things that I focus on. And the other thing is I always say I give daily reminders for people if they want to take action. So for this particular group, I would tailor the daily reminders to these type of lists. So if you'd like to get daily reminders in a WhatsApp group, all you have to do is send me your name and mobile number. I'll add you to a group, and I'll give you some helpful hints around how to manage these 4 lists. Okay. Now, just remember, the first 2 lists are the most powerful. What you want to achieve and who's going to help you. The next couple are around keeping it moving forward and following up. And you can do that as well, as we were talking about, in different ways. But if I just finish off with one phrase, if you don't have a who, the who is always you. And in leadership, It's not your personal productivity, it's the team's productivity that makes everybody successful. And the more successful and productive they are, the more productive you will be. So thanks, everybody. And I'll send out the recording. I'll send out the materials later this afternoon. And I wish you a great finish to your week.